This conference will now be recorded.
You're so fast. Okay.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion's passed. Monthly financial report and accounts payable.
Just a couple of checks on there, pretty typical. Kim said, I asked her if I need to pass anything along, and nope.
I did notice Kurt has not put through the checks for the EDA.
You know what, Kim was working.
Okay. I brought it up last month or 2 months ago.
Yes,
Last
yeah,
month.
Kim actually mentioned that, I think she was working on those.
Okay.
I can run and ask her quick. where
Nope,
she got
not and just.
I'll make a motion to approve the accounts payable.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's passed. No public hearings. Old business, 2025 visitor guide final.
Yeah, yeah, picture in there. We do have a flash drive, you want to put that in there?
He just dropped this off today.
Yeah, he just dropped the flash drive off of the whole thing, he wants it reviewed, but I don't know that we're gonna sit here all night and review the whole thing, but I just want to see the front cover, because this didn't print very well, and hopefully that's not representative.
The email looked better
Did it? Okay.
when he emailed it to us.
Oh, good, so you got the email.
He just emailed the cover though.
Oh, my gosh. Well, try, just set it unlock and see what, let's do more options.
It's right there.
Oh, yeah, should just let you in. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, no, it doesn't look any better.
Well, this is look like that. I think that's a no.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be like a, not a real photo, like a,
Painting?
yeah.
Well, I mean, it's up to you.
It's still
I shouldn't
terrible.
say. I don't like it, it's up to you
Kind of like
guys.
it's stylized though, like.
It's like the paint.
Just not well.
Bridge needs painting.
Yeah, I bet that's the way, I bet it is supposed to be a painting. Or look like a painting.
It's not probably the best for the front cover. You got it.
He just asked.
I don't think I'd walk across that
Along that,
bridge.
we don't like the painting.
It's not a picture, it's a picture.
Picture, not a picture that looks like a painting.
No.
No. Okay, I can pass that along. And then if you've got it emailed in, then
Yeah.
if you see any changes, get back to Pete or.
Yes, staff can probably go through this.
Yeah, we
take a
can.
look,
He
yeah.
didn't email the whole thing.
'Cause I don't
No, he
think-
just, I think he
on
just
a-
shot the picture of the front.
Yeah, I
Oh,
don't
okay.
think anything else really, any of our pages changed a whole lot as far as pictures.
There goes Kim. Oh, wait, all the pictures look a little goofy.
Yeah,
Just that one looked fuzzy.
but the colors look funny, like look at how the reds look like they're,
It's
like
enhanced.
Microsoft Painter
Yeah.
painted them, and then the rest of it was
Yeah. So I'm just gonna give them a general,
blurry.
we need a
They
different,
were blurry before.
different picture for the front cover, and all the other pictures should be clear, not abstract.
Yeah, the colors do weird things. Like,
Yeah.
those look really saturated. Huh. Anyway. Basically, it's,
Now we'll look at the dates and things on for different city stuff.
What's on the back? Can you get that part? Is that it?
Yep, and the 19th for that. Unless it's just a, or is it just a white?
It's probably the inside of the back cover is probably just.
No,
it does have
have something.
Yeah,
on
you're
it.
right.
Let's see it. Let's see it. But it's, even this page looks really
Yeah,
blurry.
I'll ask about the fuzziness.
Is it magnified at all?
Okay.
That's all we got.
Okay. No vote on that, we'll just leave that as is, correct?
Well,
I don't think there's anything to vote on, right? Because we already voted to print it, so they could just fix it.
Okay. Blue Water Farms.
That was it looking at Red Wing?
Yep.
And, I thought Kurt said last time they had an operation in Wisconsin. That's not what I heard.
Okay. Because they had given Kurt some information. I think he gave us that
The
too.
only thing they had, but they were trying to grow some stuff in River Falls, just on a lab scale, but they hadn't got anything developed, so I think there needs to be a lot more information.
Okay, yep, and it looks like we passed along land that might work for them, so it's up to them anyway to.
Okay. New business. Do you want us to start with D then?
If you want to, we won't have to keep you around.
Yep. Yeah, we'll start with D, TIF resolution, Keller Bartman.
Brian, would you be able to grant me access to share my screen so I can go through the presentation? Well, I was planning on being there in person, but then we thought we were going to have snow, so I ended up doing this virtually. But
We had a little bit of snow on the grass, that's it though.
all right, let me know when you can see my screen.
We're seeing our screen double, basically.
Interesting. Let's try that again.
Oh, now we're getting there.
Now you see it?
Yep.
All right, perfect. So in front of you tonight is a resolution recommending approval and establishment of TIF District 1-20. This is a redevelopment TIF district, and so we can go through high level the TIF plan, and more than happy to answer questions at the end of this presentation. Just to give a high level overview of the background, back in April of 24, in partnership with the developer, the city applied for some funds through Minnesota Housing, specifically their workforce housing development program. This is geared towards market rate development within greater Minnesota. There's a city match requirement or a local match requirement. So for every $2 of Minnesota Housing state funds, the city has to provide $1. As far as the amount in the application that we submitted to Minnesota Housing, the city agreed to match up to $1,750,000 of tax increment financing, plus waiving about $62,700 of SAC and WAC, sewer access charge and water access charge fees. In October of 2024, the city received a little over $2.8 million from Minnesota Housing for a deferred loan, which is essentially a forgivable grant, have you, at the end of the day, for the project. Just to explain a little bit about tax increment financing, wanted to walk through the applicable statute that this is in reference to. Tax increment financing specifically looks at a city's ability to capture that increased property tax revenue from new development within a defined area for a specific period of time without the need to get other jurisdictional approval from the county and the school district. So we're not necessarily looking at the base value, the property that is out there today. That's still going to flow to the local taxing jurisdictions. You're still going to get the tax revenue that is currently being levied upon that property. What we're specifically looking at is that new development that would not, but for this assistance, move forward in the foreseeable future. To demonstrate this a little bit further, on the screen is TIF building blocks. So that blue box is essentially your base tax capacity, your base property taxes that the city, the county, and the school district are still getting from the 3 parcels that are proposed to be in the TIF district.
Hey,
I
Keith,
will mention, oh, yeah,
we're seeing the little slides on the left, and then the big screen is still on the Ellers front page.
really? Well, this is upsetting.
Oh,
Where, now?
Moving on. But
You can
just-
see it now?
Yeah, we can
But
still.
it's not in presentation mode.
Right.
Weird. Well, if you don't mind, I'll just do it here because you're able to see it. I can zoom in more.
Yeah, I guess as long as it moves.
Unless you can zoom out. Or Eda.
Zoom out a little bit.
Oh, that's better.
There you go.
Right, that's better.
Sorry about that.
Oh.
Thank you for letting me know. So that blue box is the property taxes that are currently essentially being levied on the property as is today. So you're going to be getting the city, the county, and the school district are still going to be getting your share of the property taxes that are currently being levied on those properties. What we're looking at is that purple box above. The new value from this development moving forward that's going to capture tax capacity, that's going to capture tax increment to provide a portion of that to the developer as far as a reimbursement or incentive to help them with the cash flow to meet a reasonable return on investment. I will mention that one of the parcels is currently tax exempt. By way of state statute, that parcel is going to become taxable once it is acquired by the developer. So you are currently not receiving any property taxes from that tax exempt parcel. But once it transfers to a taxable piece of property, that will now be included in the base. So your taxes that you would receive will slightly increase. I did want to make that clear. As far as the TIF District 1-20 in front of you, the TIF plan lays out the statement of objectives. It lays out our estimation of the amount of tax increment that's going to be generated. We worked with the county assessor to determine what that estimated market value is to appropriately size, over 26 years, how much tax increment theoretically could be generated. Now, this is over time. Certainly, we're not giving the developer an upfront incentive here. It's pay as you go. So if the development is constructed, if it generates the amount of tax revenue that we're anticipating, they're going to get a percentage of that. It's not a fixed amount. It's based on a percentage. As far as the TIF plan, it lays out, like I said, the statement of objectives. It lays out the TIF authority. What authority does the city have to create this type of TIF district? What is the type of TIF district? And do you meet the requirements to establish it? TIF 1-20 will be a redevelopment TIF district. And so there's 2 requirements that we're essentially required to meet. The first one is the coverage test, which 70% of the parcels have to be covered by some improvement, whether it's a building, a parking lot, a gravel parking lot, utilities, etc. The second one is a substandard requirement specifically with the buildings. More than 50% of the buildings have to be substandard to require substantial renovation. Essentially how I look at it is you're comparing the building that is out there today to current building code. And depending upon the cost to bring that current building up to building code, if and you compare that against a new building of the same structure, same square footage built in today's market, if the improvement cost to bring it up to current day for the current code is greater than 15% of that new value, that new building that you would construct, that's when we say it's a blighted building. It doesn't necessarily mean it's hazardous or harm to the general health and welfare of the public. It's just a requirement in statute to say this is a substandard building because of the amount of work that needs to go into it to bring it up to current building code. A TIF district like this, specifically redevelopment, the maximum term length is 26 years. Now, certainly you don't have to give the full 26 years to any developer because the TIF plan is essentially the mechanism to be able to provide assistance. It's not the means of providing assistance. What I mean by that is approving the TIF district doesn't give any agreement, doesn't create an obligation for the city to provide an incentive to provide tax increment to a developer. That will come later with a development agreement that will be considered in April, if I'm not mistaken. So really the TIF plan looks at, it's a budget maximum. So we're looking at everything in maximum amounts, even though, you know, some things may happen, some things might not happen over that 26-year period. We just don't have a crystal ball, so it's an estimate being conservative at the same time. We also identify where the TIF district is going to be within the city, because a TIF district has to be created within a project area. So your project area is that red boundary, and it's most likely coterminous with the city boundaries. The TIF district is going to be located just off the intersection of 58 and 68. Not all property taxes are included in tax increment from what's being generated from that new development. So on the screen, we have a box of what is excluded from tax increment financing. Well, we exclude the base value, but we also exclude the market value taxes. Those are referendum, voter approved taxes like the school district for their operating referendum. That is not included in tax increment. So this property, this development would still pay those. We're looking at other taxes unrelated to that market referendum, specifically looking at just like the city, the county, and the school district portion of property taxes. So those two items for residential development are included. If we're talking about a commercial development, we would be excluding the statewide taxes and most likely the fiscal disparities. In this case, it's a residential development, so really we're looking at the market value taxes and the base value taxes. So you have total property taxes being paid is $102,000. Once the project is constructed and lease up and fully occupied, your annual gross TIF that we're projecting to be able to be generated off that new development is $80,632. So a portion of that will essentially be going to the developer should the development agreement be approved. As far as the sources and uses that are contained within the TIF plan, again, these are maximum amounts. The tax increment being generated for the sources is a future value over 26 years. That's the amount less the state auditor fee that they're going to retain from the tax increment. There's also an interest component to the sources because we're assuming that there's going to be some level of fund balance that the city is going to hold over that time frame, and they may be able to generate interest off of that fund balance. So that's why we factored in an amount appropriate for that. As far as the uses, we lay it out with what we anticipate the development going to entail. You have the land and building acquisition. We're constructing, I realize it calls out affordable housing. This is workforce housing, but it's for workforce housing. And then you also have administrative costs, up to 10% that we can charge to this TIF district. So the developer is not going to be getting 100% of this tax increment. the city has the ability to retain up to 10% of that tax increment for administrative costs, for the ongoing reporting that's required to the state and so forth. As far as the process that we went through to get here, we had to send out several notices to the county commissioner. We had to send out a notice for fiscal impacts to the county and the school district. And we had provided the TIF plan, at least a draft of the TIF plan with their estimated fiscal impacts. We did publish the notice of public hearing for the city council meeting tomorrow. Tonight is that EDA consideration for recommending of the TIF district for approval. And then tomorrow is when the city council will hold the public hearing. And so I will be in the city tomorrow for that public hearing to go over a presentation similar to this. As far as next steps, city council consideration is tomorrow. The city and developer are still finalizing that TIF agreement, and that will be brought back most likely in April sometime. The date is not yet confirmed, but we're anticipating that that will be agreed upon and brought forward in April for approval. So with that, I can turn it back over to the president, and I can answer any questions that the president or commissioners may have for me of the TIF plan.
Hey, Miranda, will you fix us back for the?
So I guess just in general question that I had is how many TIFs are too many TIFs for a city to take on?
Yeah, that's a great question. The benchmark that we typically look at is what percent of the total tax capacity is contained within TIF districts. Most communities within the metro are below 10%. A lot of them are even below 3% of their total tax capacity being in TIF districts. With this one, we certainly would not even be over 2 or 3%. I don't have the specific number in front of me, but certainly there is a point in time where too many TIF districts can hinder your ability to generate the future tax base growth, to spread, diversify the tax base. But in this case, with just having a few TIF districts active at one time, it wouldn't impact your ability to, have enough resources from property tax, because it is a scarce resource for cities to pay for your operating expenses, to pay for your capital improvement needs, and so forth. We do go through in the TIF plan to understand what are the fiscal impacts of creating this TIF district. So we send those fiscal impacts out to the city, we send the fiscal impacts out to the county, but we also review departmentally at the city what might come from this TIF district. So we work with the fire department, we work with the police department to understand what might be capital needs of the city with this TIF district and with this development moving forward. And we didn't anticipate any additional cost burdens from constructing this apartment building that the city doesn't already have the ability to take on.
Yeah, and I think, Keith, where that question comes from is I gave them a list of past TIF districts. There's a couple that are still active. Well, one for sure, the other Keller Apartment building, but Midwest Livestock maybe. So we really only have, most of these are all done.
Correct.
Most of them are done, so, yeah. So maybe
But
two.
our other Keller Bartman one is also 20+ years.
That's a 26 year as well.
Yep, and Midwest Livestock was how many years? So I just didn't know, we gotta look over time too. Obviously, we want this project to come through, but if we're gonna do, it's a length of time, in 26 years, we have to look okay, are we gonna hit that capacity of, we're at 3% now with TIF districts, but if we have more potential for building, these are extremely long-term TIF districts. So just trying to look at an entire picture of, we only have 2 right now, but in 25 years, I don't know, I hope we have more than 2,
Yeah, that was a great
but I hope everything else is growing around it. So.
No, that's a great question. That's something that always keeps an eye on or helps us with as well when we go to them and say, okay, what assistance can we provide to bring an apartment building in or whatever it might be. Then they'll look and see what we've got and do the whole study.
So the taxes that are for 26 years that are not received, the incremental difference in value, I guess, that's just taxes that are just not paid, and that's the benefit to the developer?
Great question. They're actually taxes that are paid. It's just reimbursed back to the developer based on the property tax system. So they will still pay their property taxes in May. They'll still pay their property taxes their second half in October. It's just once the county collects, processes it, sends it to the city for its first half and second half settlement, you wouldn't make payment to the developer until August and February.
And the portion that we pay them, the rest of it stays with the city?
Correct.
Plus,
Interest, or like,
yeah, plus a fee for the bookwork, the
If they-
administrative fee, yes. Couldn't say the word. But yeah, this is the first step to have the EDA. We did talk about this, like you said, last fall. And have the EDA give the go-ahead for the TIF as a tool. Again, does not obligate us at this point. The obligation comes when we finish the plan, which is still being negotiated. There's some things in there we still need to talk about, so. This is just
Looks
putting the tool
good.
in place.
Awesome. Thank you.
Just out of curiosity, going back to the previous question, not about the money, but the long-term impact. Is there any analysis that was done about how much more the city could take on? You say it's gonna be less than 3% now?
Yeah, I mean, we can definitely look at long-range capital improvement plans, financial modeling to understand what might happen in the future. But I guess keep in mind that when you create a new TIF district, you might have one that's decertifying. So the value that you were deferring for that TIF district, it comes online. I mean, you're trying to set yourself up for future growth and diversification of your tax base. We certainly can take a look at that. With two TIF districts, I know for a fact that you're going to be well below that 3% for your total tax capacity within TIF districts. But we also look at a development specifically like this. When a developer is asking for public assistance with multifamily, we don't want to unduly enrich them. We want to make sure that the public assistance that they're asking for is truly warranted and supported. So going above further, just the but-for test that's in state statute, we take a look at the developer's budget, their sources and uses. We take a look at their operating performa and compare them against general industry standards in the current market within the city to understand how much rent can they actually charge, what are their operating expenses going to be like, but at the end of the day, what is their return on investment? That's what we want to know because we don't want to unduly enrich them with public dollars. That's the most important part here. So with this TIF district, it was justified to support TIF assistance to this developer. But as far as the amount, that would come later once the development agreement is finalized, negotiated, and brought forward to council. So that was a long explanation. I apologize about that, but you do need to take the holistic approach to it.
I would think it'd be logical. We might assume if the veterinary clinic wants to build, there could be another request.
Could be a request, could be an abatement. We
Yeah.
rely on others again to help us with what's the best tool for the type of development. And these housing ones are 26 years, the other ones are not.
Okay.
They're a lot shorter term, so that's when he says they come off, they're coming off a little quicker, which does free up the space. But housing also will be very beneficial in 26 years, 24 years for that one. The tax base is we're gonna leave the city better than when we found it, basically, as far as the tax base
Yeah.
goes. So, yeah, we'll need the motion and second and all that.
So we are motioning for the TIF district, or we're
You're
motioning for a specific,
This resolution.
Yeah, that's the resolution.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll make that motion to approve the TIF resolution for Keller Barton.
I will second it.
all in favor?
Right.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion's passed.
Thank you. Don't let me forget to have you guys sign this thing too.
Okay, we will bounce back to A, hotel study.
Yes, what's else?
So was Bob, me and Bob.
Bob was there.
It was there, and so was Brian Hagen, but he's not here.
Yeah,
But
Brian Haugen as well. Well, maybe you want to talk about it. Do you want to talk about that? Okay, so we're invited to a meeting on March 4th at Mosaic Motors to talk about investments in Zumbrota. I'll be right back. I gotta see. You can talk a little bit.
So we basically met with, what was it, Rebound Company out of this Northfield. They do a lot of big developments in Northfield and Faribault.
They're all over the state now.
Yeah, they've done apartments, hotels, shopping centers. You gotta kind of give the shout out to Todd Fitzgibbon, because he's the one that him and I talked about it, and Monier, even before this meeting. So Todd put that together, and they're requesting before we can move forward. Our last hotel study was in 2017. So basically, they would like to get a hotel study to see, can we get a hotel? Do we have all the criteria for that?
Didn't the last hotel study say that we didn't need one?
No, we said we could use one, like a smaller one, like the Centerstone Plaza, like a 50, 60.
Yeah.
That's why they threw that one in there.
I remember it being a no.
I thought it was totally a no.
Do we have that study?
I have a
You got
copy
the
in-
quote in here. Kurt
Okay.
gave you what it said. I
Okay.
believe that the mid-scale to upper mid-scale franchised hotel of approximately 50 rooms can be market justified in Zumbrota.
Market that to somebody.
Yeah, I guess it never came to fruition. We did revisit it with Munira in the long-term planning. She actually spearheaded trying to get this going. We didn't bring it, I don't think, because of the cost. We were hoping to get this one updated at a little less cost. Well, this company doesn't do it anymore. But the person that did it recommended one of these companies in here. But, so right now we've got, it says Rebound Group, and they're raring to go and help us set up a fund. Is that the right word, Bob?
Well, yeah, what they do is they invest, but they also get local investors to build a fund to do whatever projects the community decides to do. So the group that got together was really looking at what does the road need? One of the things was a motel, I guess, whatever it would be called. The other thing was a possible restaurant that would be open in the evenings downtown. And I think the group is somewhere. Well, I think the downtown was kind of the focus at that point. We've got the covered bridge outside of town a little bit. Yeah, and we actually have a hotel out there too. But, so the idea was to, what does Zumbrota need? And that discussion is still going on. And I think the group didn't give Todd credit. He's got a lot of energy. He's got videos out. He's promoting, bringing people to Zumbrota. It's almost something that we should be doing as an EDA.
Yes.
But he's doing it. So he's got this group together, and they're having another meeting scheduled already, and they're looking at just bringing more and more people into it, I think, and getting more ideas. But the hotel or motel, I don't know if it's a hotel.
Yeah, Motel 6.
Hotel, that study
That
was.
nobody stays at.
Yeah.
sure somebody
one they
was there.
recommended.
Yeah.
So I think I can let you talk. My question is, why are they not here asking for the study?
Maybe the whole group.
Well, just like it says,
This
there's a
rebound,
need for a new hotel study, so
yeah, so this rebound group kind of facilitates, they said, we're here to help or not. They were just part of getting this meeting put together and then offering assistance. They've done these funds in a few different communities.
And they have a lot of-
So what the fund is they invest and then local investors or local people can invest in this fund with the promise of a return. You know, what did they say they were returning, 8% or they look for 4, yeah, 8 to
But
12,
then
but they're
They close it out after about just a few years.
5 to 7 years, I
Yeah.
remember,
And
but
people come out pretty well.
I think they promised 4.5% return on your money. If you put money into this account. So basically, it's another account, it's another account that would help the community with things where, you know, the EDA helps with the gap, right? And there's a limited amount of money. This fund would be part of that, but more so, you know, big chunks of money and big part of bringing businesses in. And then they structure whatever the terms are to get a return for their
Yeah,
investors.
it's
They're
community,
not the developers,
it's-
they're like the.
well, they are a developer.
They do a little bit of everything.
They're a community, it's community driven. They want the community to drive it. So what they like to do, the Rebound likes to do, is they like to come into communities like ours that have this great potential and not just work on one project, but what 2, 3, 4 projects could we get involved in to really develop the community?
And they might buy a building.
Yeah, they could do something themselves. We don't know. but
Like rebound or investors?
Rebound.
Rebound.
And the investors, both.
Oh, it would be,
But, you know,
Not
it
good.
isn't up to them necessarily to come and say, to request this. This is if the community feels like we should do the study, if that's part of the long-term plan of developing Zumbrota and bringing in a hotel. It's the community that should be putting forth the study. Because what I think I heard him say is if a hotel decides to come, they're probably gonna do their own study too. They're not just gonna take our word for it. But that's up to them.
But our 2017 study is outdated.
Right. What we heard loud and clear from the whole group was get a hotel study going right away.
There's no question
And
about that.
that's.
And as part of being part of the city, of being Brian and I being at that meeting, that is something as a city that we feel that is necessary to help promote this, even if it's not with this rebound group, it could be with somebody else. At least we have that study done.
But we were going down that route with Munir, we just never got it finished. But $15,000. We can get a $5,000 grant from Compeer, so that's $10,000. And Brian Haugen, not this Brian Haugen, but Brian Haugen from Land Pros said he would be willing to put some money towards that. Because he wants to be able to bring clients into town and have them have a nice place to stay. So he'd be willing to put some money in. I don't know how much. But what we're looking for tonight is a commitment that go ahead with the study and.
Budgeted somewhere?
Yeah.
Hold on, let me-
Kim says, is it
So I
from-
think my question is, like, we're gonna spend $15,000
Again.
because this group of people says, we need to have this done. But there's no promise of a hotel coming, so.
at some point we'll have to have,
We have a study.
that's 8 years outdated.
Yeah, we're either gonna come and ask you for a study now or in not too long from now.
But that's why I'm saying, like, why, so like on here, it says the EDA was invited to a meeting. I slightly disagree with that,
Yeah. No,
but
we
why
were
aren't they
invited-
coming here to ask for a hotel study, to request it?
We were invited as a city and I invited Kurt because he's, community development director.
Right, but he didn't go.
No, he went.
He went
Oh.
there.
Yep, he was with us.
He wasn't listed on here, I'm sorry.
Well, I think he listed himself as EDA.
So,
That's where EDA was involved.
sure.
But we need to do a hotel study. We've known we need to. Munir has had the paperwork rolling and that's some of this stuff. We just never brought it.
Is hotel study or is it a little more hospitality study.
Well,
That would include, hey,
Who's
you
the
need
group
some
that does
restaurants.
that? Or we said 7 years ago we did it?
Yeah.
September 6, 2017 is when this.
Island is doing this. Global, the HBS Global Hospitality, this is the one that was recommended.
Which one, the HBS?
HBS
From the group?
recommended by the previous company that did ours.
And so we could get it down to that 9,000 and then maybe most of that's covered and then the EDA is only coming up with 4,000?
$14,000.
Or has several stages that cost less than 9 to 10,000. You want the 14,000.
We would like the 14,000, 9,000 and maybe 7,000.
But what, yeah, that's, I guess,
What did they get
like
us?
with Tina, what's the difference between the 9,000 and the 14,000? What are we getting?
Different stages, it says. Oh, it was 13,017. Through that company. So whatever that company gave us,
Is it just, so back to that, is it just a hotel study or is it a hospitality industry study? Like it's gonna study the need for restaurants and gas station on the other side and.
They use hotels, at least this one, I'm sure they'll do studies on other.
I'm sure it will for another $10,000.
Yeah, exactly, this stuff is not cheap.
but we can whittle it down to under $10,000.
And I think, just to be clear, this, Rebound did not request this. This was the group that was there suggesting that the city should consider doing a study.
So we can move forward.
So we could
other
move forward.
things
Yeah,
that Bring in
it's,
investors
and,
and developers.
yeah, and I think that's part of
Step
our, part of our objective is how do we drive economic development? We can't drive it if we don't know what the hell we're driving. So we need studies sometimes to do it. And, I don't know,
I'm okay with it.
you can flip a coin,
I just
what's more
prefer
important.
this one doesn't sit on the shelf.
You can authorize up to the $15,000 and we will whittle it down as low as we can get with the grant and whoever else might want to contribute from the group. That was the
And I guess
I'm
my,
just gonna contribute if the EDA has already paid for it in full. Like, it's funded, but if you wanna throw some money at it, like,
Or do
I
you
don't
mean,
know.
or do you mean the investment fund that they're gonna create with,
No, we've got.
That's a different
Brian
venue.
Housen from Land Pros told me that I will pay for part of it if I need to. I don't need to
Got
tell
it.
how much.
for sure? Got
Yeah,
it.
we get a couple thousand from him, we get a 5,000 grant, it's
So you can
8,000.
authorize up to $10,000 if there's another grant. We can will it down to less than that.
Oh, if the money's in there and it's what we think we need to
It's
do.
too developed.
what account is that money coming out of?
See if Kim will text me back. Kurt's got this information. He should be here.
Be prepared with these
I
things, Brian.
should have been.
I can't remember what we asked Kim, and I don't know if it was the sales tax fund, or if we have some loans coming due.
I think I would move forward with it for up to 15,000 and get as much funding for it as we can to get that cost down, the actual cost. So that would be my motion, and the reason for that is that there's some energy out there that we have not had for some time. And that should be, supported by us, I feel, because one thing leads to another. It's, if you can get a hotel, now you get other things coming. And maybe we won't get a hotel, but it might lead to other projects because the people that are getting excited about it out there and plus this Rebound group, they're nothing to shake a stick at. They could make some things happen. So I would move that we proceed with the hotel study for up to 15,000, trying to get grant money to get that cost down as low as we can, to, make the net effect less than 15, of course.
Do you have any question at all about where the money is coming from? Because it's not a budgeted, like, we haven't said, hey, we have 15,000 budgeted for a hotel study this year. So do we have to do our due diligence just to make sure that we know where the money is coming from?
Did you call Kim?
Or is it okay to just,
Well, what are all these funds sitting there for? What are we using them for?
that's a wonderful question.
I mean, we got all this money sitting here and we're not doing anything, so.
Well, you've been doing more with it. You've been doing more with it recently.
Kim has said that there's funding available.
Yes.
I can't remember. Hey, quick question for you. We're in EDA meeting. We're wondering or asking where the money would come from for the hotel study.
Revolving loan account? That's right.
And they loan that money to the vet clinic. So basically they had extra money in their account. And that money's been being paid back and it isn't really tagged for any purpose. So if they voted to pay for the hotel study, they could take it out of their fund balance.
What, you're on speaker now. Can you just say that one more time? What account?
We
You
got
guys
it
have
all.
an account?
Well, you take it as a contingency out of their fund balance because they have money that has been paid back over time on loans. The loan we made to the vet clinic, which was $70,000, they've been paying that over a period of 10 years. So they've been that back every year. So I think we're about in year 6. So,
Okay.
Is that just our 403,
that money
Kim?
would be available.
Is that our 403?
It would be out of 403, yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
perfect. That's all we needed. Thanks, Kim.
Yep, bye.
Bye.
Mayor calls.
Approve up to 15.
With the idea of hopefully to get it to about 8 with the 5,000 grant and then a 2,000 from Mike Hagen. But my opinion is it's something we need to do. If this group doesn't work out, but at least we have it out and we'll be able to know where we stand. Because this rebound group said there's basically 3 tiers of hotels out there that come into towns. And I can't remember, like the Hiltons, and then it's like the Holiday Inns, and then the Stonebridge is the kind of the 3 levels that they have. And in Stonebridge, I think we'll do a 50, 60 door hotel, if that's what this town warrants, versus a bigger step 1 or step 2 or a level.
Cobblestone.
Maybe cobblestone, yeah.
Is that the one that's got twig in it? I saw a
Yeah,
picture.
that's cobblestone, yeah.
So like, back to Tina's question then, how do you prevent it from sitting on a shelf like this one did 8 years ago?
We have a dedicated EDA person now. That's my answer for that. It'll be a priority. Well, we're still setting priorities too. with the
Right now,
council.
January over here. We're gonna go with it, be like, hey, remember this?
And the rebound guy that we talked to, was it Brett? Brett, yeah. He said we have the traffic counts, which is huge, just because of the main arteries, which we know. And we have a big nucleus. And he also said, we brought up the Beller Cartman building. He said, that's huge for a town to have another apartment complex downtown, more than what we already have. So he said, right there are some big pluses on the city of Zumbrota. So I think if it doesn't work out here, we will have some movers and shakers in other areas that hopefully we can run with it.
That was just like Bob said, they're motivated. There's a bunch of them motivated right now, which we can ride that wave and keep them motivated. And this is our part to start. Okay, it's authorized, we're going.
But they're not talking just hotels. They're talking restaurants, they're talking whatever. When Convo Church was brought up as, what could that be used for? They're not just looking at the
Brewery, I told you, it'd be a great craft brew house. That'd be a great craft brewery.
And when we're talking about the motivated people, we're talking about people from our community or this rebound?
Or both.
Combination?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Rebound, I know for a fact, has been here and looked at another facility. I know from a year ago already, they were talking and looking at a restaurant type of possibility. But I think just one thing led to another, and then they somehow, Todd knew them and invited them. I think he's a friend with somebody or relative or something. So it's, you know, and other people should, the EDA should be at those meetings, in my opinion.
Have to be EDA meeting because otherwise we would,
Well,
otherwise more than two of us can't be in attendance together.
One of you for sure
yeah,
represented, well, there was a representative.
I was there, so was Brian.
Brian was there as
Yeah,
well.
so was the mayor, so was Todd.
That's true.
But it's a group of citizens
Why are we legal?
and,
They didn't sit by each other.
the more citizens that
There were
get
4 of
involved,
you.
the better off we are.
Yes.
Oh, at the EDA.
And
Oh,
Bob,
yeah.
on the
At the
rebound
city
thing, so
council.
do they come out, or anybody can answer, but do they come then back to Sombrero and say, hey, we're here and we're actively looking for investors? Is that,
Yeah, they would help
You said
with it.
Kurt was there.
And I don't
Yeah,
know
but he's not
exact
on the board,
structure,
though.
but they're all about being community driven,
It's just me, Bob.
so
and
they would
Brian.
help. So the difference maybe
Right.
between the study in
Kurt shouldn't count
17
for part of the
and this study is who is back there motivated to do anything at that time? I don't know.
City council does.
Now there's a group that's motivated, you got somebody that can actually steer the ship or help steer the ship, and I think it's worth pursuing.
And Rebound puts the initial amount of money in to get the fund started.
But Kurt don't
They
be
help
part of
look for
it.
investors. They
Yeah.
do as much as we would ask them to do.
But we don't have a quorum.
They're there to facilitate, they can be more involved or less involved, but they will put the
But I thought
initial
you had to have
amount,
a
as I
quorum to
recall.
have open,
I can't remember what the amount was, that they would put in kind of seed money to get the thing rolling.
right?
And of course, they're in it for an investment,
Because that's,
everybody
because
that
Kurt
would
only
be in
has
this
5.
one, this type
So
of
we
thing
have
would
a
be in
quorum
it
at
to
3,
make
but we have 7
interest,
years,
make
so the
some money
quorum
on
would
their,
be 4.
on their money.
I mean, that's the way I look at it.
And that's the draw.
That's why I think the council, it's, can't have 4 too, because the quorum is 3.
6%.
and help grow your community, yeah.
I think it would be helpful, like, we're getting off topic, but I think it would be helpful to have them give that presentation to this group.
But maybe they're just an agenda item every month up for an update of what's going on, so we don't lose.
Or like you said, invite them here so that the EDA can hear about it.
Yeah, sure. At least you
If
understand.
we're the
what
ones who have to
they're
get
about.
behind them, like it'd be nice to hear that presentation, like
Agreed.
you want something from us, let's hear it. So that we all can be on the same page and all have that same fire that Bob has, because I didn't hear the presentation, so I just hear,
I've heard
So-and-so wants a hotel
a
study.
lot of reports in Northfield, what they've been doing there, the Archer building that burned down. They're gonna rebuild that, or not rebuild it, but build something there. They put 2 restaurants in one in Northfield called Redemption, I think, and Reunion. They're the ones that they built, that group. They're working in Faribault. They're working all over southeast Minnesota. Now they're way up north. They're doing a hotel up there.
Red Lake Falls, they have something going up there.
So I've heard about them for quite a while, but my impression in listening to them on the radio and everything is they really want the communities to do well. It's not, you know, if we do well, they'll do well, so.
so there, I was gonna say, there's motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. On to B, the billboard.
Yeah, we got a whole bunch of extra weeks or month on that thing. 2 months
It's
or
gone
whatever,
now.
Yeah, I heard
It's
it's
gone.
gone.
It is gone.
But the question's out there. You wanna do it again?
Do we have any way to measure?
That's the problem.
Yeah.
No.
Just don't.
No, other than right in the middle of Cannon Falls, I caught a whole bunch of grief from Neil on that.
I'm sure.
I didn't know-
Recommend renewing just for that.
Just for that
He's
reason.
longer there though.
He retired, so we put one in
So-
Fun Island.
Yeah.
We had one on the north side that you see coming into Zumbrota from the north. Do we try one coming
Right, that's why I was like,
from
you
the
know,
south side? up to
KOD has a market
Zumbrota?
down there in Pine Island. I think that they can give up one of those
That's funny.
stripper billboards for the city. Like, every time I like, yeah, I was like, so mom.
I'd be interested.
Look away,
if they
buddy.
could
Look
get
away.
one coming from the south,
Okay,
try that, but
Yep.
if there's one available at a decent rate, and it's gotta be.
Coming from the north, from
Coming from the
Rochester.
From
south.
Rochester,
Coming out from Rochester.
To us.
Yes.
driving north.
Same
See it
deal.
driving
I
north.
agree,
Yeah.
I think we try,
So confusing,
I don't know
but
how you judge it, but
I don't mean, I just,
Well, I think.
we tried it one way, tried it the other way. In the
Right.
summer, were we in the summer last time or were we closer to the fall?
I think it was summer, middle of summer.
Will they design a new one or is it the same one?
Is there a design fee though? Because if there's a design fee and we just keep the same one going the other direction.
Okay, we will get, is anything available from Rochester coming?
North.
Right in the middle of Pine Island.
Cost be.
Yeah, can you negotiate that?
Okay, wherever it ends up being.
Okay,
Look at that, we get that information and bring it to the next one.
any more discussion on
And
that?
the other thing I think we should pursue or look at is how do we market ourselves? Because at Mayo Clinic, there's a lot of people that come up from Mayo Clinic. They go there for visits, they come up here to shop. They hear about the stores here through the little booklets that they read down there. So I think I think that angle needs to be pursued. It might be a counter to spending the money on a billboard, spending it on something like that. Maybe we get a few more of these booklets and set them down the Mayo Clinic area or something.
Oh, I think some go down that way.
You know, maybe it's more like a Thursdays on First when they have that and, you know, is there I know that they have a visitor guide booth in our area, so we can make sure we're there. Or are there, maybe it's more of a working with the downtown businesses to say, hey, do we want to have a group presence at Thursdays on First? You know, it's a commitment, it's every Thursday for the duration of the summer and it just rotates through. I mean, you could take, you know, flowers down there 1 week or somebody could take, you know, shoes down there or whatever, and then promote the city and the businesses and kind of make it more of a,
Have we ever
like
brought in a group a marketing group to advise us what is the most effective use of our time and energy and money? To
I
market
feel like we
the
did.
community?
Yes.
That lady, it was a lady, it was through CETA,
Correct. Yeah, it was through CETA.
yes.
Yes.
What
Did they
you
come
say?
up with good
Is
ideas?
that sitting on the shelf too?
You could probably find it in there.
That was 4 or 5 years ago.
Longer than that.
It's okay, I don't remember it, so it might be before my time.
I was here when that person came. And
Cause
I've been here for not 5 years yet, so I don't remember why or what they're, well, marketing professional. I wrote it down.
So CETA has definitely resources.
Yep.
They feel like we did something else that was more along the hotel study avenue.
I thought so too. No other discussion on that. We will move on to C, date change, June meeting.
So June 19th or Juneteenth is on a Thursday, which is on council. So I've proposed to move council to the 18th. And then would like to move the EDA to the 25th instead of the 18th. Just, if we move our councils up, then we'd have council back to back and then have a 3-week gap. So that's why I would like to move council from the 19th to the 18th on Wednesday, which is an EDA meeting, and move EDA to the 25th.
We're into June, you're saying?
Yeah,
Do we want to move EDA earlier in June?
to later, to the 25th of June.
But would you rather?
Oh, we can do it, we can do
Earlier
it. We
than
could
a
do it
week
the
later?
11th if we wanted to. I just, with council being back to back and then a 3-week gap, it's just,
I'm just thinking if there's things that are happening that we need to do, maybe it impacts the city council more, for the developers
What?
agreement, if not, that's
Yeah.
coming back.
I mean, it don't matter,
Be
we
long
just,
between May and June's meeting, if there's action items that we have to take care of.
because July would be the 16th then too, if we just moved it to the 25th, so we'd still. It don't matter, we could move it to the 11th or the 25th, I would just like to move council to the 18th.
Make zero difference to me.
Yeah, I'm okay.
It'll make all the difference to you because I will not be here in June or July. Vice President.
For
So
the whole-
you
are-
pick.
You're not taking off the month?
I got
June and
softball
July?
on Wednesdays
Nice, good
for my kiddos.
Oh,
I will not be here.
So it. so
Three
like-
of them. Jake and I can only go 2 spots.
And some video,
I
somebody
mean, it
else.
would be,
Coming up like a tip thing or anything.
yeah, I mean, who knows? I mean, it's
Wednesday.
what happens between, I mean, if we have a hearing or we get Rebound in here to talk where ours could go an hour 15, an hour and a half, I'd hate to shut them down.
I say let's go the week before, because then if we have an action that we need to recommend to the council will still be able to take action on that before their next meeting.
So let's move, we'll move the EDA to June 11th, Wednesday, June 11th. I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Uh,
Aye, opposed? Motion is passed. Okay, and last is reports, update on KV Apartments.
I just heard from Keith. In 2024, the city had approximately 1.47% of its tax capacity.
In
How much?
2024.
In TIF, yeah,
How much?
1.4,
Okay.
1.47.
7%.
No, we need to capture, we need that extra space. Seriously.
Okay.
It all counts. Keller Bartman, we're just working on site plan things. We had a conversation today about the alley and some things back there. And in all likelihood, most of that alley will be repaved all the way over into the neighboring properties, based on some drainage and things like that. So there's gonna be a plus in my book for, the whole alley is gonna be pretty nice. They might have to do something with the grade of the alley a little bit. It still needs to be a one-way going up to Third, unless they can talk the county out of that. That's why they have to do a few things with the grade to lower the slope of the hill up there, which in turn will do some things with the retaining wall and some paving, but it's all working out pretty well as far as our engineer is concerned. Yeah, it looks like it should work. So they're still working on that. Other than that, we are working on the local developers agreement and then also the TIF developers agreement. Andy hadn't read it until just the other day, so we couldn't move it forward yet because he'll have some questions. He's got the same kind of a building going on down in Wabasha with a separate financial, less conservative financial advisor. And so they tend to give more stuff down there than we do here. Our financial advisor is very careful and advises us. That's why to get them to agree to the but-for that they need this money, that's saying something from Ellers. So there's gonna be some rub there because they'll have some things in that one down there that they won't get here. And so we're gonna have to work through some of those things. And then, yeah, just the local developer stuff where parking and the agreement to turn over a piece of our land in exchange for never, in writing, to never designate those spots in that alley, that they'll always be available for anybody to park in. And we'll have to come up with an agreement on plowing and how they handle the plowing back there, all that little stuff. And that'll be back.
Would it get too complicated on that land issue and the parking if you traded the ownership of those little parcels? So that their ownership goes right along their building, like it does on the west side?
Yeah, I mean, the little patio area is the part in question.
Right, but then they have the parking up near Second Street. They own that.
I wish all mine are up
So-
here.
Yes.
Then you could get it in right
No,
here.
you wouldn't
but I
be
just
working
don't
tonight.
know
I know.
Go make money.
how solid that is.
It's in the developers agreement.
That's from the council in Rochester.
Yeah, they got a little more snow,
That's
didn't they?
Stewartville.
Stewart really goes down too?
Okay.
A bunch of stuff on that, so more to come. Just to get the TIF tool in place, that's this next step. We thought about holding that off too, but no, let's just get it. We had already advertised it and everything, so.
Get done.
So we'll get that done, then we can follow up. We won't need a public hearing for the developers agreements So we don't have to re-advertise and wait, so we can run that to the next closest council meeting once we have it. So that's kind of what I know now, but it's shaping up to be a really nice site. Maybe a little more green space around it than we thought.
Cool.
More to come.
Keep the grocery store in business.
Meeting is adjourned.
They just. Okay, so you're talking, the county said we can't go.